Yes.
Any movie he's ever done, it stands out.
Yeah, we just took a brief detour into an Adam Shankman movie.
Well done.
Yeah. Yes, very nice.
It wouldn't surprise me if like Kenny Ortega was the choreographer for this. Like, this is straight out of.
Oh, I mean, did this?
I was wondering the same thing. I actually looked it up. He was not. It's actually a gentleman named Michael Rooney. Who started out as a dancer, primarily known. He was one of the background dancers in the TV series Fame in the early '80s.
Oh my God.
Okay.
And then he started choreographing in the mid '80s, and has basically been doing it ever since.
Oh, wait a minute! I know that guy. He choreographed for the Muppets, the 2012 movie.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
That's why they were
I believe that's true.
That's why they were able to get Mickey Rooney for that cameo. That's because he's his son.
Oh, that's good to know.
Oh, I didn't make that connection.
Yeah.
Very nicely put. Very nice, Kyle. Pull that one out. Nice. Very cool. So we cut to the roof after our flash mob, which is amazing. Yeah. We cut to the roof, and Dante and Becky are really having fun now because Becky's just laughing. They're having a good old time. It's absolutely fun. It's so great. Oh. And then Dante dips her, and he says, "I love you, Becky." And in the history of nobody ever saying "I love you" back to Dante, she responds with, "I'm pregnant, Dante," which is never the response you want.
Yeah.
Like, ever?
No.
Yeah.
You went from your wife. That's not the response you want.
So I guess it wasn't mayonnaise in her cooch.
Ba-dum-ching.
And it drops her. That's the end of the song.
And you better see stunned after he drops her and then he realizes, oh shit, I just dropped the pregnant woman.
Great moment. And that goes with, like I said, in the first Clerks movie, we had a laugh riot over Dante yelling, "I love you," and Veronica yelling, Fuck you.
But Veronica, I love you. Fuck you.
One of our favorite moments in the whole first movie, right there.
It is a good moment.
It is a perfect callback, actually, to that, because he could never get a girl to say "I love you" back.
And hey,
ever.
T-shirt on sale.
Yes. We end the song, and as we mentioned before, the color goes back to the way it was. Yeah. And we cut inside, and before we even get to anything, this is the first time we see Randall wearing his Porch Monkey for Life t-shirt. For sure.
Oh, goodness.
I asked this question when we first brought up Porch Monkey in a previous episode. David, did you ever hear the first Porch Monkey? I never heard it before this movie.
The term, yes.
Okay, because you're older than us, so maybe...
Yeah. I grew up in Southern Illinois, which also probably explains it.
Okay, that does explain a lot, actually.
So.
Okay, because we had someone else on the show then, and we did not ever heard of it. So
yeah, it was definitely a racist term when I was growing up.
So how do you feel about them trying to take it back in this movie?
I think it should be put to death.
Fair enough. It's amazing. By the way, if you go to the stash, they have this shirt hanging up.
Goodness.
Hanging up at the stash. There's a picture on our Instagram page. It's absolutely hysterical.
Yeah, I heard they actually auctioned off one of the screen used shirts with the Porch Monkey for
life. They did, and they made good money off it too. They made good money. Dante comes in stunned, not surprisingly so, after what just happened on the roof. And he sits down, and he says to Randall, and he says, "I'm having second thoughts."
Yeah.
And Randall, never missing a point to have a crack a joke about your sexuality. Come on, Randall. Really? And then Dante goes and says about going to Florida. And we always joke, we're making jokes about the acting in this movie. Some of it's over the top. Yeah. But here...
It's subdued.
It's very subdued, but also you can see his face go from, really, there's hope, to, no, never mind.
Yeah.
It really is. It's literally one frame of him just changing his facial expression. It's like, oh, never mind. I'm not going to get my hopes up. Yeah, right, and why now all of a sudden? And we end our scene. Yeah. What a way to end it.
Yeah.
I think it's actually one of the more serious moments between Dante and Randall before we get to the not in a jail scene, not in a jail in this movie. Two coming up.
That's true.
Next episode. So I don't even know what else to add to this. This is such a crazy couple of minutes. So
it really is a crazy couple of minutes. There's the whole dance sequence has almost like a Mickey and Judy. Speaking of Mickey Rooney, like a Mickey and Judy putting on a show vibe.
It really does.
And then we get brought back down really quickly.
Yeah, and we're back to reality now. Snap back to reality.
Right. There goes gravity.
Thank you. Thank you. I was hoping somebody caught that. So, David, I'll throw it to you here to ask everybody, what's your history with this movie and the Views universe?
So I think, if I remember correctly, I first saw Clerks probably in '96 on video. The group of friends that I hung out with in high school after we had, I think it was the summer after my freshman year at college, we all got back together and we would, have nights where we would sit around, watch movies, and play Risk because we were a bunch of nerds.
Like you do.
And this was one of the movies that we watched, like one of our first of the summer after my freshman year of college. So that was '96. I remember when Chasing Amy came out in the theaters. I didn't go see it. I didn't see it until later when it was on video. Dogma was the first of his films that I saw in the theater.
Okay.
And I basically saw everything that he made through Zack and Miri.
Fair enough. Did you see this one in the theaters? I would ask that.
Yes,
question.
I did.
Okay.
3 or 4 times.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, I only saw this once in the theaters, but it was still worth it. It was definitely worth seeing. The fact that I watched this in the theater, and I also watched this in a hotel with my now wife. So she saw this for the first time with me because she never saw a this movie. This was her first time this movie. So
okay.
And I just joke about that because she was on our last episode. So
there you go.
She didn't want to come on Clerks, but she came on for this movie, so that's always cool. So that is that. I want to make a comment here. I know it's going to be a few months out since it's over, but David, I really, really enjoyed Everlasting Minute.
Thank you, Blake. I appreciate that.
I listened from day one, and it was a lot of fun. So I just want to just note that right here on the record. So if you guys are Willy Wonka fans, I suggest jumping over to and listen to Everlasting Minute. It's all over the place, all over all the podcast feeds. What are you up to right now?
Well, we are doing my podcast partner Jason and I. We are back to our regularly scheduled podcast, Podvocacy, which comes out Monday nights. We have recently gone through a bit of a reformat, and so we are actually we're hitting 2 topics every week. One of them is Star Trek because Jason is an expert on Star Trek, and I am not.
Fair enough.
And the other is wrestling because I'm an expert in wrestling and he is not.
You got my attention.
So basically, we each. Sorry, go ahead.
You got my attention.
Well, there you go. So basically, what we're doing is he's assigning me an episode of Star Trek to watch. I'm assigning him a wrestling match, and then we get together and basically ask each other questions about what we've watched.
Nice. I like that. So
that. We're basically calling it it's Podvocacy, 2 friends, 2 passions, and a whole lot of questions.
Fair enough. And you know what? We're gonna have to hook up and get you on the Blake of South show to talk wrestling.
Sounds good.
Down the road.
Sounds good.
Yes, because we that's half our content over there.
Well, there you go.
Especially because WWE runs like 87 shows a year lately, so why not?
Yeah, well, I'll be honest. I've sort of let my WWE subscription lapse. I haven't really been watching Raw or SmackDown on a regular basis. I'm way more into the indies at this point. So
you know what? I will be honest here. I one of the main reasons I still keep my WWE subscription is because of NXT. Because I'm a huge NXT fan. That's like my favorite show on television, period.
It's great.
But I love Ring of Honor, and I'm actually a regular at me. Actually, Kyle has become almost a kind of regular too at Brew City Wrestling here in Milwaukee. So
nice.
So
nice.
I try to go once a month. So it's okay. It's really a lot of fun.
Have you ever gone to Swoggle's promotion?
I know of it, and I've never actually gone. I think it's probably because it conflicts with things.
Okay.
I know it's we're in December, and I actually went to see House of Hardcore. Blizzard Ball.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be our 3rd year in a row going to that.
Nice.
They come to Waukesha every year now. So part of the House of Hardcore Tour Tommy Dreamer show. I love going to those. Those are fun.
Yeah.
So, all right, I could talk wrestling for hours, but we're going to get out of here. Trust me, I could do this for hours. On that note, David, where can people find you on the social medias?
You can find me on Twitter at DWKII or at Podvocacy, PODVOCACY, and Instagram, DWKII.
Awesome. And you can find us on everywhere at Clerks Minute, and you can find the show everywhere you can find podcasts, including iHeartRadio, some Spotify, and iTunes. Also, we're part of the Filling Away Podcast Network. There you go, boss. We got the plug in. That all being said, we'll be back on Wednesday to continue on with the conversation between Randall and Dante. And boy, do things get fun there. I love this conversation because it's interesting and definitely takes layers. Till then, thank you, David, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you all for listening. I'm Blake.
I'm Kyle.
Have a good day, everybody.
Come on, girl!
Show me what you can do.
Snorting, smoking weed, doing coke, drinking beers, rolling fatties, smoking blunts. Who smokes the blunts? We smoke the blunts, rolling blunts and smoking.